Yeah, we're live on Facebook. I'm going to actually share this on my Facebook page. So in the meantime, I'm super excited to have Henrietta Butler. So and I'm tell you all about I'll tell you a little bit about her and then have her tell us about what she's got for us. The idea of like what is there something that you absolutely should not put in your body? You should not feed yourself. So let me keep it like that right now. And a little brief history. I met Henrietta many years ago in San Diego, and I think my wife Jen met her first. And she's a holistic health practitioner who's studied a lot of stuff. I mean, more than you could imagine. And so, but she's also had her own healing journey. And so we're going to talk about that because I think her story can help you with your healing. And she's got an interesting way to look at what you put in your body. So, Henrietta, I'm so glad to see you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm really glad to be here. It's so fun to kind of meet up with you again like this because we've kind of met and then we've had periods of time where we didn't see each other and then we come together and we're doing different things and it's all just wonderful. It's great.
Yeah. I remember, I think the first time I met you, you were in Hillcrest of California, a part of the town where we lived, and I was meeting you, and you had some sort of like power plate thing that you were using all sorts of healing modalities of all sorts, and so I knew you were a holistic health practitioner doing all sorts of things, and then yeah, we lost track of each other, and then we reconnected when you moved to Colorado, and I moved to the Northwest, and then we were just been back in each other's worlds more and more, and you've got something with I guess you could call it nutrition, but it's even more than that. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're up to and what you mean by your idea of transformational nutrition? And I'm going to ask you some questions about how you got there, but what's the basic idea behind what you're up to with transformational nutrition?
Okay, well, for 25 years, I did neuromuscular therapy. And during that period of time, I also continued with another love of mine, which was nutrition. So I've continued to do continuing education and studies. And I've always known how important nutrition is for a body. And so it was only natural with clients as I'm working with them to also take a little bit of time out to talk to them about their diet, about their hydration, about what are you putting into your body and how might that have led to this issue you're having, or how can we prevent issues from happening, in the future. And so nutrition has always been integral to the body work. But as you know, I also taught Pilates, and any of those body mind therapies will tell you how connected our body is to what else is going on with our mind and our emotions. And so I decided to revamp my nutrition consulting to include more of that, to educate people in that connection, to understand how vital it is to see that everything that you're putting into your mind or taking in through your senses is also having an effect on your body. And I think, from all the studies that are going on now with the importance of the gut, the biome, right? We're learning how much everything that's going on with us in terms of stress can actually have a detrimental effect on that. And it doesn't matter how well you're eating, if you're under a tremendous amount of stress, you are still not going to assimilate those nutrients, or you may need so much more of that nutrition at that time. And so I wanted to put a program together where it wasn't too difficult to take it all in, because it is a lot when you're adding all of these other bits of information about the mind and the emotions. But I wanted to put a program together where those connections could be discovered and understood, and where big change can happen. And when big change happens, that's transformation.
Yeah, and I want at some point I'm going to ask you what you shouldn't put in, the main things you shouldn't put into your body, I guess into your being, because I think it might surprise people. So we'll get to that in a bit, because it's anyway. Yeah, we'll get to that. But what I can you give us a little bit of a a backstory of like, you know, you were into the Pilates and the holistic health practitioner stuff, and, you know, working on people's bodies and physically working on people's bodies. And then you went into nutrition. And I know for myself, I used to eat M&Ms and drink Coca-Cola, and I thought I had it all figured out. And I was running a lot of miles, and I thought I was pretty healthy. But I started to go down this road of needing to learn about this other stuff because I had some health conditions, and it's like, oh my goodness, this is just, there's something besides just like regular good eating is what I thought I was eating good. But how did you get started on the nutrition? How was anything happen in your life that kind of got you going on this? Like why step into the nutrition world back many years ago?
Well, I love food. I love entertaining. I love the whole concept of having a healthy diet and how good it is for you. You know, knowing how a lot of the commercially raised or conventionally raised food is and what it might contain always put me on alert, because I have a couple of people in my family who have died from cancer. And
Mm.
it's like, you know, we're putting poisons into our body. What is that doing for our health? When I worked at the Gerson Institute, I think you had already left. I don't think you were in San Diego then, but it was in 2010 to 11. I worked for the Gerson Institute, and Max Gerson, you know, he spoke about the cause of all dis-ease and disease, right, is due to toxicity and deficiency. And I really took that to heart. That really was like a very important pin in my
God,
concepts of nutrition.
that's so amazing.
Yeah.
I had somehow I had forgotten that you had been in the Gerson Institute. I've actually got his book here. Let me see.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, I'll just show people because that's a story. Oh my goodness. Let me just see, where is that book? I gotta find it. Here we go. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
That's a big story. That is a giant story. That opens up a whole level of stuff. So did you know Kayla? Was she the
Oh, oh yes, absolutely. Kayla's so wonderful. I love her. And yeah, they hired me as the director of education and training. So Kayla and I work very closely together. She's just such a marvelous person. I just loved working with her.
wow, and I'm going on a little tangent, but we had lunch with them once, and Charlotte Gerson was there, and she said, "Yeah, we don't have health insurance, we have health assurance," and we had this
Love it.
amazing meal, and yeah, Kayla did a bunch of qigong and an amazing group. And if you don't know Max Gerson and that story, there's a movie about it, I think, but I know there is, but it's quite amazing because he was thwarted. To say he was thwarted is like an understatement about what happened. But he
Right.
literally went to Congress and said, "Look, I've been able to cure these diseases, really, really life-threatening diseases, with this form of nutrition." And they kind of patted him on the back and said, "Very well," and didn't do anything about it. And in fact, thwarted it. To say thwarted is like an understatement. So it's an amazing story. So yeah. So wow. So that was your. I forgot about that part. So okay. So you were with the Gerson Institute and literally helping save people's lives with nutrition. And then what happened?
Yeah, well, I moved back to San Diego. We came back to Colorado in 2007, and I restarted my neuromuscular practice and my nutrition consulting. But then I went to the Gerson Institute and interviewed for this job and got it. And I was so excited because we thought, let's move back to San Diego.
Wow.
Well, it was a wonderful time, but what happened, it was also a really stressful time. And it was like a new job. It was moving again, considering that. There were, just navigating around San Diego again, because we live in a really small town of like 500 people, right? So that was all stress, but I was running. And just like you, I figured, I'm eating well and I'm running and I'm doing great. but that stress actually, it got to me and I didn't realize it was getting to me. And I was eating those wonderful lunches at Gerson every day and the juices. And one day I got up and I went for my 6-mile run. And the next day I could barely get out of bed. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've got the flu. Something's going on. I don't feel good.
Yeah.
But I didn't get better. And I just really had to deal with this low energy, this level of not feeling good. My weight just started to plummet and I didn't know what was going on. So I went to a naturopathic practitioner in San Diego, and she had me take the, it's a test, the Western blot test for Lyme's. And she said, you tested positive. And I went, oh no, how on earth? I haven't even been around ticks or hiking. Went to a regular medical doctor who referred me to a rheumatologist, and without taking a blood test or anything, he said, oh, you've got bursitis, and you've got what did he call it? You've got aggressive rheumatoid arthritis. And I'm like, what? Well, I was so inflamed. I was totally inflamed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, well, what they had to offer was to put me on prednisone and methotrexate, which I would not do. I just, with all of my studies and everything, it's like, I truly believe the body can heal itself. I truly believe that if we give it the proper things that are natural, that we can heal. It may take longer, it's not a magic bullet, but so I went to see a functional medicine doctor. And he said, you've got a high sensitivity to gluten. And that, has also led to leaky gut syndrome. Let's work with that. Well, that felt right for me.
Yeah.
Because it included a lot of just good nutrition, adding more nutrients that I really needed more of, just like I spoke of earlier. And that was, I think, when I also wanted to talk to you to kind of get your hit on what was going on. And you can remember I was having a hard time walking. I was having a really hard time. And you clued me into things that I had no idea. I was avoiding wheat, but you clued me into how much gluten is in other things that we don't even suspect. You really helped me a lot with that. So there's nothing like a healing journey for a healer when they have to do their own healing. And I've been on that journey. I've been, really working with myself to get myself back to optimal health. I've made tons of progress, and it's great to know that I did not have to go on those medications. It made a huge difference, and I really credit a lot to the help I got from you, the support, the functional medicine doctor, and what I've learned over the years. And I want to share that because, at whatever level, and then you ask yourself, why did this happen to me? I remember your story when you said you were running and you started having some trouble and found out, I guess I can share this. You found out it was due to something else going on, that your body wisdom just stopped you in your tracks so you could deal with what you had to deal with. Yeah. And so I remembered that story, and that was always something. It was like, well, what has stopped me in my tracks? What's going on? And it took me on a whole other path for a while. And it was like, I always say, God put the pause button on so that I could go more deeply within, so that I could really integrate so much more into my life that I really needed at that time. And it has all helped, and it has all come to a place where I really feel that I have more to offer than I've ever had to offer others by going through what I've been through.
Yeah. You were struck with a really crazy thing, and where you're not able to run, and you got all of a sudden these crazy diagnoses, and you're already doing healthy things, but then there was like you said, the pause button. There was something that you were going to learn, go through, be able to help other people with. And yeah, I remember my thing was San Diego had put fluoride in the water in 2011, and I had gotten the energetic information that I should look at this, and I kind of poo-pooed it. I was like, whatever you don't think about is okay. If you don't fight things, it's like just energetically shift things. and and a couple of things came together at the same time that were just kind of funny. Like I bought some Kangen water machines because I kind of heard that was good, and but the problem was it was concentrating the fluoride because it wasn't taking the fluoride out, so it was like actually helping my body absorb the fluoride more.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
went to the Gerson Institute, and I thought, okay, well, what am I? What maybe I'll do the. They do have this thing, kind of a little, maybe too much information kind of thing, but they have a coffee enema thing. So I started to do that, but the problem was I was using San Diego City water. So
Oh,
I was using Kangen water. It was filtered, but it wasn't filtering fluoride. So I was literally putting into my body fluoride. And I remember the time I did it once. No, that was it was either that one or I was taking also Epsom salt baths, but I was taking them in San Diego City water with had fluoride. And we would live 10-minute walk to Whole Foods, and I was so depressed. I was literally teetering on muscles that weren't working. I barely walked 10 minutes to Whole Foods, and I barely walked back. And I was really depressed, like almost suicide. I mean, I was thinking of suicide. I wasn't serious about it, but I was like really dark. And Jen said, you cannot do those things again. We didn't know why. Months and months later, we figured it out. And it's like, oh my God, I just kept loading all this fluoride in my body. And so if you can just figure out why is your body doing this and stop it, it's so important. So, so one of the things I would say to people is like, what do you just not put in your body? It would be fluoride. With you, there's like all sorts of the mental, emotional, spiritual stuff. Like I was thinking, like, one of the wonderful things about eating with the Gerson people is it's such a awesome environment. Everybody's so positive and it feels so good, and you're doing good work, and eating food in that situation feels good compared to some people might be like hurrying around and rushing and hating each other and sitting at the table. It's like, yeah. So we can talk about more that, like what to not put in your body or your thing in a little bit, because I know you got ideas around the psychosocial part of the whole thing. But yeah, I just wanted to like tell people you and I have been through some tough stuff to figure stuff out. What was your big epiphanies, or what did you're already eating pretty darn good. What were the things that turned your health around, and were there any other epiphanies that you found through this journey?
well, I think one of the things that helped me the most physically, certainly first, was adding more of the nutrients. I mean, I was getting nutrients, but not enough of them. And again, thankfully for the Gerson Institute, we had gotten the juicer and we were making a lot of juices to really add that punch of nutrition that I needed. My weight went from 105 pounds. You met me when I was running and I was healthy, and that was good muscle, right? It just plummeted to 85 pounds.
Wow.
And I could just barely get around. But the epiphany was twofold. One was recognizing how important it was to keep building my body up even beyond an optimal diet, that I needed so much more. And the other was I heard something interesting the other day that I related to this. Food is your mood, but also, how food can affect your mood, but how mood affects your food.
Yeah.
And when you're in pain and you're distressed over not feeling well, again, that is going to have an effect on your body in terms of how well it heals, how fast it can heal, how healthy that biome stays. So I was doing all the right things nutritionally, but I also had to realize that this pause button was also to change the feelings of hopelessness or depression, or am I ever going to get better? And if I'm not, I really don't think I want to live this way,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I want to explore that a little bit, because that's the direction I see when we put that I put that title into the Facebook Live YouTube thing today, was what not to put in your body. And I think there's something really big there, like what not to put in your body, and some ideas around like your mood and what you're putting in your body, like that. Because there can be people that that just have had a lot of, there's people, you give 5 people with similar kind of things the same healing protocol, and some will succeed really well and some still just fail. And and I think it's that other part of what are you putting in your body or your being. Anything you want to say about like what not to put in, or that idea like your mood or hopelessness, or how
Yeah.
do you shift, how do you not do, yeah, that, whatever that question is about that.
Yeah. Well, it was like discovery. It was like in working with my clients, I found that there were people that did not have a really optimal diet. They were still working with, how do I quit drinking so much Coke or so much coffee, or, how do I, wanting to change the things they knew probably weren't good for them. But they were robust, they were overall healthy. And it was like I started really looking at their thought processes, and it was like they were positive, they had joy, they had support, they were involved with community. All of these things made a huge difference. I think they were squeezing as much nutrients out of their not so optimal diets as they could have, because they had all these other things going for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing to not put in your body, is the hopelessness, the despair, the sadness, the negativity. Maybe we could talk about like how you might do that. But yeah, that's it, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Because I also, in working with people, they changed their diet, they improved their nutrition, and yet they're still like, my energy's still really low, but they were not happy with areas in their life,
Yeah.
with how their relationship was going, or with things that were happening in their family, which is also relationships, but I'm talking, partners and family. It's just something missing, something that they quite weren't getting to that level of joy and feeling really healthy within themselves. Self-love, compassion, those sorts of things. And I think that what I saw in that was that if those levels aren't also addressed, if they don't start looking also at what can I do to improve my mental and emotional well-being, then you can really miss out on being ultimately as healthy as you'd like to be.
Yeah. And so when you were going through your tough time, did you shift the happiness, the mood, that part first, or did you start to shift some of the physical things and then it started to get a little traction and then you could shift your mood, or did they happen together? What was your experience of fixing all that stuff up for you?
Well, I shifted the nutrition first, adding even more of what I was getting. But I also realized that periodically I was having those thoughts of, if this is not going to get better, I don't know if I want to live this way. And I realized I really believe the universe is always listening to us, and your body does hear everything you say. And that in and of itself was holding me back. That was holding me back from really making great progress. And I finally came to the point one day where I said, I have to declare this. I have to declare that I want to be healthy, and I want to live, and I'm going to do everything I possibly can to get there. And there is nothing that is going to deter me from that commitment. So I really had to commit to getting rid of those thoughts. I shared with my partner, Barry, my daughter, any support that I could find where, I knew people would lift me up. I knew they would support me. And if I started feeling down, that community is so important. It's such an important facet of our psychology, really.
Yeah. So you started getting traction with your nutrition, but then you made a conscious decision that you were going to go for it. You weren't going to just like go to these dark thoughts and just do that. And then it sounds like you declared it to your family and said, "Hey, kind of look out for me here. Don't let me get away with going back down." That
Yeah.
sounds like some very important pieces here to make your declaration, to make a decision, to take responsibility for those thoughts and change them.
Truly, they were worried about me too, And so just by sharing, letting people know, that's why, this whole thing about share your story because you never know who might need to hear that, or who might reach out when they're afraid to reach out, to say, I'm not having great thoughts. I'm not feeling good. I really do need help. And I've always been a very independent person and never needed any help. And that was something else, a lesson I had to learn. I started finding silver linings in what was going on. And one of them was learning to ask for help. I had never really done that.
So like from your family or from other people or?
From Barry and from my family and friends that I was close to also. I always just saw myself as the helper. I'm healthy, I'm doing great, these are the things I'm doing, let's help you. But I never realized, I never really learned to ask for help myself.
Wow. So how is that living in a in a world where you can help people, but you're asking for help and getting help? What was that like to transform like that? That sounds kind of big.
It was huge. It was hard, and it was huge. And I felt almost, guilty to ask for help. What was so good about it is to realize that when people come to us as healers asking for help, it's a big thing. It's really big.
Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot of people who don't really, they want to know that they can do it themselves. And it's really important to empower them that they can do it themselves. But it's really hard to come to this place where it's like, I need a boost. I need a little more support. I just need somebody to be there for me.
Yeah. Wow, so big. Yeah. There's some, oh, how do I, some people, I don't know if I'm going to even ask this part. Let me just think about this a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, I guess I could just ask it. When I was going through my tough time, it was a couple of years of not being able to run. And you and I are runners. We love to run. And then it was like this weird depression, but it was something besides just not being able to run. It was later I realized fluoride causes depression and kidney problems and liver problems and all sorts of bone problems. And so it was like, wow, it was just an organic thing too. But there was another piece to it because at one point when we were going through some more tough times, I was back to running, but all this stuff had kind of gone a little weird. Jen told me, you got to get happy. And because I wasn't happy because life had seemed to I had a good life with a practice in San Diego, 5 therapists working for me, and life was good. Lived right at the border of Mission Hills and Hillcrest, exactly where that is. And
Oh, yeah.
it was a 7-minute walk to work. And I went from that to like, oh my God, everything fell apart. And I had to turn around. The happiness thing was the first thing that turned around. And then a thing that helped me was I started to get help from coaches. And the first one, Winty Hill, was amazing in town. And she literally calls herself, and people call her a fairy god. What did she call her? Professional fairy godmother. But get
I love it.
healthy. Get happy. And then I was like, okay, I've getting some traction. I started to get some wins where it's like I started to change and I made progress. Like it's not like it all came true in one big swoop, and I'm still going, but it was like
Right.
progress helped. And then so working on stuff and then getting progress and working on stuff, getting progress, even if it's like this kind of thing, um, it started to happen. And some people just have a hard time getting that first win. Um, when you were going through your tough times, was there something that was like kind of started to click, or because you had already had really good systems in place, before that, and a good life. But what, like for me, it was like I had to like learn how to be happy first, and then realize that there was another. I basically made a decision that I wanted to instead of retreating to the mountain, we were out by this mountain. Instead of retreating and being a homesteader, nothing wrong with being a homesteader, but it wasn't us. But I really wanted to get a healing practice and do it in the world again. And it was a decision. Can you tell? I know you talked a little bit about that, but that point for people to kind of know what was your thing that said, okay, I'm going to go for it, instead of just like saying, well, you know what, this is the problem, and this could cause this, and this caused this, and so this is how my life is going to go. Like what happened?
Well, for one thing, it was learning to be with what is. There's a quote by Rumi that says, if all you can do is crawl, start crawling. And I loved it. I loved it because it was true. It was like I had to embrace where I was, to accept that that was where I was, and to understand that by wishing and hoping for a future that wasn't there yet, that was adding to the depression or sense of hopelessness.
Yeah.
And I realized, well, let's explore this. What else can I do with where I am right now? And every little thing that I did, I just marked it up as that's progress. That's progress. It didn't matter how small, but it started adding up to the point where I could feel better and better every day. That's a wonderful affirmation too, that I'm getting better and better every day in every way. And I started using a lot of affirmations and things that I've known about but didn't always practice. For me, running was really like the thing. And every time I had a running injury, I did get down. You know what that's like? It's like withdrawals, but
Oh,
you're going to get
I used to be
better.
the worst running injury person ever.
I don't know. I might have competed with you on that.
Yeah.
But you're going to get better, right? And so it's just a tough, but it's a down time. It definitely is. And I started to see that I've had these times before. I really have been through times where I've had to pause. I've had to wait for something to get better. This is just another one of those times. I stopped putting pressure on myself to get better faster than my body was willing to do.
Wow, what a transformation. And so yeah, and so you're progressing. We're always progressing, and you came from a pretty tough spot physically. Um, how are you these days? Like, where just so people know that what happened. Like, how was what? It's not like the end result, because you're still improving in all sorts of levels. Um, how is life now?
Life is good. Life is really good now. I'm excited about being able to engage with clients again in these different ways that COVID has kind of forced us to deal with and learn. So lots of learning curves. Um, I'm doing a lot of walking because I'm not running now, and the walking is great. And I take every opportunity I can to get some steps in. Even if it's on a phone call, I will start pacing. So I'm getting my steps in, just things like that. They just keep me going, and getting back into just really like, let's cook more, let's do more fun with food. Barry and I are both into that, and just enjoying life more. It's gotten to a really good place, but the real thing was just making that commitment to say, I want to live and I will get better. I think that was huge for me, because it flattened out that up and down of oh my gosh, nothing's better and this is feeling hopeless. It just helped to smooth that out to a place where it's like every day I look forward to what's better and better.
So important, I think, for sure, to make that decision that you're going to get better, and you're going to make progress, and you're just going to keep doing it. Yeah, that's so big, because it's so easy to fall back into just like a dark place. So that's so important. That's so
Yeah.
good. And so these days you're doing a lot with nutrition, and I don't even know all the stuff you're doing. You've started a new Facebook group. So tell us a little bit about how people can find you and what you're up to, and who you help these days.
Well, mostly I'm working with clients on chat. That's the way I can best communicate with them right now. I've been thinking of a website, but I really want something more interactive, so I'm exploring. And I'd love to do a blog because I love to write, and I think that it would be just great to share a lot of information and have an interactive blog where people can ask questions. It's a little different to not see people actually in person. For me, it's always been really important to read body language and to be able to see the whole person. And like you and I, when we work together, but I know we can do this. You can watch somebody walk, or you can watch, observe the things you need to observe. It's just learning to do that with this whole new focused way of doing it all through the internet. And so that's what I'm doing. As far as my program goes, I had to revamp that. And so instead of just asking about diet, there's part one, where people keep a diary, of a food diary, essentially, of everything they eat and drink for a week. From that, I'm able to get a really great snapshot of what they're putting in their body food-wise, for sure. And I get to kind of look at the macronutrients, the micronutrients, the prebiotics, the probiotics, the supplements that they're taking, and do a pretty thorough analysis of what might be missing or what could be changed. And big changes are not easy for anybody. And so I always start with small changes, because I know from my own experience that small changes add to big transformation. So the second part of my program engages more questions about relationships, about community, about who prepares your food, about, just to get a sense of that mental and emotional place, because I know that too is connected to and is having an effect on that nutrition. And I really separate the definition of diet, which to people always seems to mean losing weight or being deprived of something that they really like, and nutrition, which is what are you getting out of your diet. So there's a line between those two, I think, in terms of how we've been taught to define those words. And so I really work to help people understand that, diet, of course, we get back to square one, is not just the foods you eat. And I think last year, being a highly politicized, tense year, watching the news, it's almost, a lot of people couldn't stay away from it. And there was so much stress, and there was so much is going to happen. And just this worry. Election years are that way, but I think this one was especially difficult. And so I think what we're looking at is an entire population of people that have been deeply affected in so many ways, in ways that are not good. We've read about the suicides and the depression. And I just think that exploring that, helping people to learn how to nurture themselves, how to have some compassion for the things that aren't perfect yet, but owning that, accepting that, and letting it just be a part of all that belongs to them right now, to try to get to a place. And for some, it's going to seem like square one, but for others, they just need that hope, that bit of hope, that bit of help that will get them there.
Yeah. And I mean, you and I have both been through some really tough times, and it's kind of like it was a big like, I don't know what you call it, but like a slap on the back, like, hey, pay attention, you got to,
Yes.
life is changing right now. So yeah, there could be a lot of benefits to it. Like now you can reach people worldwide, whereas before you could reach people in San Diego. And so yeah. And so what's the name of your the Facebook group that you started?
It's Turn My Health Around, and I have the .com for that, because I actually coined that quite a long time ago, and I've kept it, even though it's sometimes, because it was a website, it stayed a little stagnant. I finally took that down, but right now it's the Facebook group is private, so it's been by invitation only, and I'd like to open that up at some point. I don't know how you do your groups, if they're always public or not, but
Always, yeah.
I played around with it, and I found that from groups that I've been in, sometimes just knowing that they're private groups, that you kind of are starting to get to know the people that are in the group. And I like a smaller group anyway. is a really good way to start that whole process of focusing on where you're heading in terms of what you want to share and teach and offer. And so that's essentially the best way. I have turnmyhealtharound@gmail.com. So if somebody wanted to email me, they could and say, hey, I heard about your group. I want to be in your group. That would be great.
So message me if you want, and I can hook you up with that, or turnmyhealtharound@gmail.com. And you know, if it's something that you feel like you might want to be more in Henrietta's world, you can reach out to me or maybe to her on Facebook, and maybe you'll get an invitation. so that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. What would you say? Are there certain things that people should just not put in their body?
Oh my goodness.
Or
At
not,
what level? Well,
yeah,
I just keep
in the non-physical level too. But because some stuff you touched upon was like I think it was really important, like the negativity and the stress and the yeah, or just what do you think? Like for me, I would say, well, gluten-free, if you have a health condition, you probably should try a 100% gluten-free diet for 3 months and see what happens. And that'd be like number one. And then the other one would be to avoid food that has pesticides in it. Those would be two big ones. And fluoride, I'd say like those are like from a physical standpoint, but I know there's a lot of non-physical stuff too. Is there something that you would say through all your stuff so far, like things to look out for?
Well, we have these five senses, and we know when we're seeing or hearing or tasting or smelling or feeling whatever, things that feel good to us and things that don't. I would say pay attention to what is coming into your body through your senses. If watching the news, it leaves you feeling disturbed, do less of that. If you find yourself repeating negative statements to yourself about what you don't like or what isn't working, try to find the positive spin on that. Like, what can I do to make this feel better or be better for me? Or how can I accept that this is the way this is for now? You know, the nutritional part is so easy because it's like pretty cut and dried what processed food does and what healthier organic food does, and so it's also what we do. And I've thought a lot about that, about how we are always so busy doing that we're not always thinking about how we're being. And I think attention to how we're being in everything that we do in our daily lives makes a difference in our health. So that's the thing. It's like, if things are coming in through your senses, things you hear or things you see, especially, and you don't feel good or they leave you not feeling good, don't put that in your body anymore. Don't feed that to yourself.
That's such a good one. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Like if you make your food and you're in a really bad mood, or you eat your food and you're just in a bad mood, it might not be quite as good for you.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. I was thinking the other day, I've thought about it quite a bit recently. Did you ever see the movie Water for Chocolate, Like Water for Chocolate?
Yeah, yeah.
Where she would cook the food, and if she was sad,
Yeah.
she'd be cooking her food and then she'd serve it and everybody at the table would start crying and feeling sad. I thought that was such a great way to really put out that idea that what you put into your food, your own food, has an effect on your energy. On we're receivers and we're transmitters at all times, energy wise, and we are putting energy into our food. And so, eating out is great. We all love to eat out, but I think when you never make your own food and put your own, love and care into your own food, I think there's a deficiency there that we can look at. Is because, you have people that are maybe not so stressed or not so happy with their job. that energy is a big piece of what actually goes into the food. If you want to think of that level, in like a matrix energetics level, oh my gosh, we've opened up a whole other world too.
Yeah, I know. I like coffee, and some people say it's good for you. Some people say maybe it's not, but I think it's good for you for certain people. As long as your liver's good. But there's a coffee shop out in Glacier, out by the mountain here, called the Waken Bakery, and they don't sell marijuana, but they kind of had a little play on words things. But the people that live out there because they want to live out there. Most of them are like snowboarders or skiers, mountain bikers, and that kind of thing. And the people that own that place want to own that place. They like want to be there. The water is it's called Glacier Washington for a reason. The water is like really, really good. And they
Oh
get
wow.
coffee beans from a company called Strictly Organic out in Bend, Oregon, that if you look at their site, oh my God, the levels of like commitment to goodness in the world is big. So they've got a great product. They got great water. They got super happy people, and it's a beautiful little house that's like out by the mountain, and people sit around there and have a great time. I tell you, that coffee tastes pretty good. Yeah, and another place here in town. I'm giving all the plugs for local Bellingham, but has this beautiful place, and it's they call it it's all about organic stuff and local, and they make their own beer. Although I don't drink regular beer anymore, they make their own cider. They have cider, but they have really good food and big windows. And every time I go in there, I feel like I should own a mountain bike and be on the trails, because it's all these mountain bikers and stuff. But basically, happy people eating good food, being served by happy people, everybody there because they want to be there. And that is a big thing,
Oh, it is a huge difference, right? It really is. You can feel it. And there's this thing about your own intuition. It's like there is no one diet that fits all. There just absolutely isn't. And we do have this intuition. It's like, I have a cup of coffee and it puts me in a great mood and it perks my energy up a little bit and I feel great all day. I think it's good for me. And there are other people who I drink coffee, I get all jittery, I get scattered, probably shouldn't be drinking the coffee. So I think that helping people to also tune in a lot to your intuition and pay more attention to what is really going on when you eat your food, and eat slowly, which is important. There are these basic food rules, right? But what else is there to those food rules that is serving you? So when you're eating food slowly and chewing slowly, when you're full faster than when you're eating fast and suddenly you've overeaten. But then there's also that intuition that's always working. It's like, how is this food making me feel? It's like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so nourished. This is so good. I'm already, just full of nourishment, and, do more of that, do that.
I love it. I think that's a good way to like finish our first one. I wanted to have you with me and on your sites and back and forth a lot. So yeah, this is perfect. So to find out more about Henrietta and getting to work with her and all of her offerings, tell me again the email.
Right now, it's just turnmyhealtharound@gmail.com.
Turnmyhealtharound@gmail.com. And you can also reach out to me and I can do a special plug to get you in our group if you're a good fit.
So absolutely.
And yeah, and then my thing is there's a few places. I'm going to give you guys a place to like go get a healing session for free. It's called ralphhavens.com. That's my name /peace process. You get a free healing session, a really powerful way to clear a bunch of inner stuff. So I'm so glad, Henrietta, that we're connected over the past few months, and it'll be great to have you on again and be on your Facebook. And yeah, any parting words for everybody on our first Henrietta thing in our group, in our world?
Oh, I just so appreciate our talk and everything that we've gone over, Ralph. And I just really want for everybody to know that we're in this place in time of really wanting to help and being able to share resources, and please, always do reach out and ask. And there's so many that are willing to give so much. And so reach out, think about health in a different way. Think about how you're taking in everything into your body, into your mind, how you're expressing, because we are truly all connected. Everything is connected.
That's perfect. Thank you, Henrietta. I'm going to